Hello, this is Tony back with my sixth installment of Scriptures Made Simple, and the topic today, as you can see below, is replacement theology. This is an idea or concept that has crept into the Pentecostal church, that the church itself is going to replace Israel in end-time prophecies and get all the blessings that Abraham and other patriarchs said would be given to the Jews would now go to the church. As I said already, this is an anti-Semitic view because the Bible is awash with scriptures foretelling how the Jews will be saved in the last days. If you turn to the last 15 chapters of Ezekiel, it makes it very clear what will happen to the Jews and how they will be saved in the last days and the tribulation. Yes, Jews have come to know the Lord individually since Christ started his ministry, but corporately as a nation, they will finally come to accept him towards the middle of the Great Tribulation, when they flee the Antichrist and go into Petra. At that point, they will have full awareness of Christ being their Saviour. But there are other scriptures, even in the New Testament, that will support my viewpoint. For example, Luke 21:24, it talks about Jerusalem being trampled until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. The word there is until. It obviously speaks of something continuing. Also in Romans 11:25-29, it says that the Jewish hearts will be hardened until the full number of the Gentiles has entered the church. And then in Jeremiah 31:35-37, God says that the descendants of Israel will never cease to be a nation, and God is not a liar. We also need to take into account the wonderful prophecies in Daniel, where it explains quite simply, if you study it in great depth, that the Jews were being punished for not observing the days of keeping their fields fallow every 7 years, or keeping them without putting crops into them, etc. And they ignored that, so they were punished and sent into Babylon. And this punishment continued when they came back into the land of Israel, but it was meant to continue for 70 weeks, and it only carried on for 69 weeks. So that means at some point in the future that the Lord's attention will turn back to the Jews, and that happens in the tribulation, the last 7 years of history here on earth before the millennium starts. So we've had a period of grace under Christ for 2,000 years, when the full number of the church is there, the full number of the Gentiles, Romans 11:25-29. When that comes along, then it's time for God's attention to turn back to the Jews. He hasn't forgotten them, he hasn't elbowed them out, and he never will, because they're the apple of his eye. And so I'd like to encourage you to look at the last 15 books of Ezekiel, Luke 21:24, Romans 11:25-29, and Jeremiah 31:35-37. In fact, all the major prophets have got endless prophecies about how the Jews will be saved. So I encourage you to not follow this theory anymore, this concept. It's very anti-Semitic. Well, that's all I have to say today. I look forward to my seventh presentation, which will be coming up shortly, and I'd like you to subscribe by pressing the putting your icon onto the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. Thanks very much, and see you next time. Bye.